Quite possibly, this book will be printed and read someday. Just as likely, it will remain a manuscript, quietly sleeping the long years away in a drawer. The owner of this fine piece of furniture might be forced to flee one day, leaving these forgotten pages behind. Nothing stops us from imagining that said chest of drawers will be sold. There, it has been purchased by a wholesaler who wants to furnish the maid's room in his new house. His maid finds the manuscript and throws it out with the trash. The wholesaler, who sees to it that nothing is wasted, that's how he made his fortune, dismisses the maid, rescues the manuscript, and sends it to his packaging department. The wrinkled, wadded sheets of paper will serve to pad a package headed for a remote trading post in the middle of Africa. None of this is implausible. After months of trucks, trains, barges, warehouses, caravans, and portage, the package reaches its addressee. It's a white man. 20 years ago, he left France and became the humble employee of a powerful mining company. He has been forgotten in this long-since pointless posting. There's not another European in a 1,000-mile radius, and this man is drowning in black men like a canelli bean deep in an enormous bag of frijoles negros. The package arrives too late. The man is old. First off, he'd ordered an ice maker. The wholesaler got it wrong and sent an enhanced dictaphone. Disgusted with everything, the white man unthinkingly smooths out the manuscript pages, padding the blank recording rolls. Since he has little imagination and nothing else to do, he records himself reading the text, once all the way through and then a second time backward. And since he is perfectly fluent in the language of the nearest African tribe, a sort of bastardized Bomongo, this is the language he uses to dictate the first translation of the manuscript. Later he dies and no one notices. The brush invades, then engulfs his hut. The manuscript has long since been eaten by red ants. A fight breaks out between the tribe of bastardized Bomongos and powerful enemies. It is the start of a new 100-year war. After many battles, the last Bomongo, now the only remaining member of a vanished tribe, is forced to hide in the forest. That is where, chased by a jaguar, he takes refuge one night, during a tornado, in the white man's hut. Now nothing but a vague, obscure bubble of emptiness in the giant jungle. The black man discovers the dictaphone, accidentally turns it on, and listens, in his own language, to the words on the pages you are about to read. I write for that black man. There's the opening story called Notice from Jean Ferry's The Conductor and Other Tales, with illustrations by Claude Ballard, and it's translated by Edward Gauvin. This was kindly sent to me once again by Wakefield Press, so a big thank you to them for this review copy. This is a strange book. I say that about every book I review because I like to review the obscure stuff. And one of the reviews actually for this book online says this book is really the obscure of the obscure. You won't find much in English outside really of this book, which has a fantastic introduction about the author, on the author Jean Ferry, also known as Jean Lévy, but he was known as a writer, though this is his only work of fiction. As Jean Ferry, he was mostly known as a screenwriter and a filmmaker, working with Louis Buñuel and Louis Malle. He was also a scholar of Raymond Roussel, who features in one of the stories and ends up doing an impersonation of God, Raymond Roussel, in heaven. Ferry's career then, in a sense, is one of explaining the work of others. He wrote 3 books on Roussel, and he's sort of a background figure amidst surrealism, Dada, and the pataphysics of Jarry. He is thrown into that oeuvre of strangeness, weirdness, often macabre, often disturbing, paranoid, and a general absurdity regarding what it is to live and what it is for things to happen within life. this collection of tales, in a way, is sort of beyond description because of what they do to and for the reader. As it is said in the introduction, which I think sums up in terms of technicalities what these stories are going to be like, atmosphere trumps plot. Atmosphere trumps plot in every single way, even though the minor, very small plots that are happening are extremely exciting, strange, and absurd. The atmosphere manages to get under your skin, to disturb you, to stay with you. I've had this book now for over a month, and I would just pick it up, read one tale, and think I can't really go on because I'm not sure what that tale has exactly done to me, to be quite honest. And you'd feel strange. You'd go out into the world and you'd look around and everything would seem a little bit weird. This all seems very dramatic, but the thing is, the longest story in this book is no more than 5 pages long, very small pages. So none of these stories are really anything more than a half a page to 3 page vignette, a small capture of a vitality and vibrancy which comes from being imbued within that surrealist, Dada, pataphysical, absurd tradition, being on the fringes of that and just allowing these small moments to sort of season the writing itself. The original edition, and this edition is from 2013, the original edition had an introduction by André Breton, key figure amidst surrealist and Dada scenes. And within that introduction, Breton describes Ferry's prose, and I think it's key to understanding what one is getting into as a reader. And so this is from Breton. Authorship of scenarios in all genres, fast, conscientious work, psychological constructions a specialty, large selection of paradoxes, brash ideas, etc., always in stock, strong human subjects, poetic details upon request, touches of humour depending on size. This is what one is getting into. There's always an aliveness, but the aliveness filled with this humour, this vibrancy, elements of paranoia and macabre and disturbing nature, as I've said, often always really goes nowhere. If you're someone who's looking for something that is going to have any conclusions or reasons or reason at all for really writing these, and they come across often as a man writing vignettes as to attempt to put down on paper that which constantly eludes him. And Ferry, at an early point in his career, when, as per the introduction, many other intellectual figures of the time would have been getting interested in politics or emancipatory writing or more theoretical pursuits, Ferry joins the Merchant Navy and sets sail into the world. And what comes across through this book is a man who wants to, at one and the same time, is seeking to truly engage with the world itself, and yet that world is always completely elusive to him. And so these stories, even though they're surreal and strange in nature, appear and feel as if they are attempts from a man to describe a relationship with the world which he really doesn't understand for himself. And so I'll give examples of what a few of the stories are about in a little bit, but there's one excerpt I want to read, and this is from the titular story, The Conductor, just the beginning of this, because they're very short and it would be easy to read many of them. The first one I read, notice what that was, the whole story. So this is from the opening of The Conductor. This train's been rolling along for ages, mister. Ages and ages. I'll also have you know you're not allowed up here in my cab. How come there's no engineer with you? The rules are clear on this point, like they are on every point, or there wouldn't be any reason for rules. I insist. Believe me, as a complete stranger to the railroad, you absolutely cannot spend time on a working locomotive without someone higher ranking to warrant you. How did you even get here, anyway? Don't know, eh? True, everything's changed so much since we left the station. Doesn't matter, though. No one can get off while the train's moving. Not us, not anyone. Admit it, you see some strange things these days, and I've been in the business 30 years. And this is accompanied, each story is accompanied by those watching the video by a very nice illustration by Claude Ballard. And so the Conductor, I think, as the name of the collection, and that opening of the Conductor there, I think describes what the struggles that Ferry is up against in entering into a world from the position of someone who has been saturated in the entire intuition of the Surrealists and the Dadaists and people like Breton. You know, we have stories such as Failure of a Fine Career of Letters, which is a man who wants to complete some 30 novels based around perfect sentences that he's already written, and he wants to construct the novels around these sentences and put them in when the time is right. But of course, he's already written the perfect sentences and they're there, so he never gets around to writing the novels. Or I would say, and this is also, Breton considered this short story, which is about 1.5 pages, really 1 page. Breton considered this story a masterpiece, as do I. Kafka, or The Secret Society, which is a tale where Joseph K. is the protagonist, but it's a society that is so secret, so mysterious, that one is unsure if they are even a member. They are unsure who is initiated, where anyone is in the hierarchy. It is a society so secret that you can just arbitrarily become a member or not, and no one knows. A secret, mysterious society, imbuing the reader with a sense of dangerous paranoia. And a story that I greatly enjoyed called The Garbageman's Strike, which is about garbagemen going on strike and the question of what to do with the rubbish. And the rubbish begins to get burnt in a small furnace within the room, and the ashes pile up until eventually a beggar appears in their place to have changed all of this into a neatness, and the only thing that's left that is supposedly dirty is the beggar, who then eventually gets thrown out by the concierge, or possibly thrown out by the concierge. Each tiny, small tale, some that are only a paragraph, takes you somewhere you completely didn't expect and leaves you with a very peculiar feeling of what it is to enter into the world, enter into that surrealist, pataphysical, strange tradition. One more excerpt here this is from the beginning of my aquarium. For some time now, I've been nurturing thoughts of suicide, and I must say that I've been coping quite well. By day, they say nothing and sleep in their little ebony box, but you should see how gleefully they wriggle and swarm when night falls and I lift the lid. They have flat little heads, whitish and triangular, like certain phonograph needles of a model I believe has been forgotten. The little creatures are nice as all get out, and easy to feed. They eat whatever I give them: sorrows, pulled teeth, wounds, to pride and other things, worries, sexual shortcomings, heartaches, regrets, unshed tears, lack of sleep. They down all these in a single gulp and ask for more. But what they like best of all is my fatigue, which works out well, since there's no risk of that running low. I glut them with it, they never finish, and there's always leftovers. I can never get rid of it all. A melancholy there from Ferry regarding this, but accepting and bordering what is real and what isn't, thoughts of suicide becoming small creatures that eat upon those things that would bolster the psychological reality of such emotions. The same bordering between reality and surreality is rife within every single tale. Some things that shouldn't be real become real, and some things that are emphatically real disappear because of their elusiveness and vagueness. It is full to the brim of parodying life itself, a satire of what it is to believe in such things like reality, a paranoia about what it is to even really exist in the world, with that sort of comfortableness. There is a pithiness that manages to become serious. There is a disturbingness that you want to sort of run away from in its nature, and you want to subsume it back into that surreal funness. The emotions and the ideas and the reality and irreality are mixed into a distinctly surreal French modern hodgepodge of peculiarity. Now, I don't have too much more to say about the book because it is so perfect in its nature of being just that, of that which I naturally happen to do. I had it on my bedside table, and I would pick it up and I would read a story. And to say read a story like there was really much labor in that is completely incorrect. To read 1-2 pages, a paragraph, and like a sort of fine wine, to be rather cliche, sit with that for the next couple of days. The strange feelings that it gives you. This is a book for all times. This is a book for all seasons. It's not a book for people who want reason. It's not a book of control. It's certainly not a book of comfort. It is if things are getting too stale, if you feel life is a bit too much of a grey quagmire, but equally you don't want to enter into a rather banal vitality of fun and enjoyment, or vitalism and explosion, but you actually want that feeling of excitement and intrigue of life to head in different emotional directions, then Ferry is the Conductor is a perfect accompaniment for that, to give you these small snippets that will send you off in different directions of emotional thought and appreciation of the world itself. And that is my short review of and thoughts of Jean Ferry's The Conductor and Other Tales, with once again a big thank you to Wakefield Press for sending this over. It has been a delight to read, and I recommend it as something to nibble on, something to occasionally pick at, like one does. It's a charcuterie of Dada and surrealism, and it is thoroughly enjoyable in all emotional directions. Thanks for listening.